Hello and welcome to Masala Musings with me, Kari Badsha. You're listening to my show on the Single to Shadi podcast network, where I have a story for almost everything around being independent, being single, dating, and just living my best life. If you like what I'm talking about, please follow us on all major platforms and leave a 5-star rating. A musing is defined as a period of reflection or thought, contemplation, deliberation, and mediation on thoughts. Today's musing will be about sex. Yup, I said it, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the way sex and South Asian society gets super weird about this. But before we go on, this episode will be NSFA, not safe for ammas, abbas, aunties, etc. So if you're my mother or someone who has to look at my mother, maybe one of those aunties, consider yourself warned about the content of this episode, but also this is what I mean by we get so weird about it and we really shouldn't, because it's still a very present thing in our world, regardless of your background. Sex is a thing. So let's talk about it and let's not be weird about it, right? Hopefully everyone who's listening to this is an adult. But let's start with the play on my title. So Karma Sutra, which is the title of this episode, is obviously coming from the Kama Sutra. It was written by sage Vyatsayana, which I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and his interest in refined human, including sexual, behavior as a means of fulfillment. The Kama Sutra is considered his treatise. The Hindu tradition has the concept of purusharthas, which outlines 4 main goals of life. It holds that every human being has 4 proper goals that are necessary and sufficient for a fulfilling and happy life, along with dharma, which is what is right, artha, which is the purpose of life, and moksha, which is the release of life. It's what helps you get reincarnated, right, when you attain moksha. And in all of that, there is also kama. Kama is the passion and pleasure of life. The Kama Sutra is often referred to as a sex manual, right? But the intention was to communicate ways to fulfill kama in love and passion, both sexual and non-sexual in nature. So from about the 6th century, there's no doubt that the original text has been taken out of context by the invaders of India and blown out of proportion, pun potentially intended there. I'm not going to harp about how also the temple sculptures out there also depict the wildest of sexual positions. It's ancient, it's incredibly impressive, and compared to the basic moves of, I guess, my world, I'm not that adventurous or dexterous, but that's out there, and a lot of us do know about it. But we don't need to go into that history as well. Allow me to jump into movies.
Editor Amrita here. Just wanted to mention at this particular point that there is a movie called Oh My God 2 that has to do with exploring sexual things. And I think it's just a really good movie on communicating how the Indian community, even especially in India, gets so weird about talking about sex, and how kind of the misinformation around sex spreads. So just a little note, watch that movie as well if you haven't seen it before. It's really great. Okay, back to my point.
Movies, many Indian movies. It doesn't matter which of the Hollywoods. It doesn't matter which language. There is always some storyline alluding to premarital sex. Most likely after the one time the girl tries it with this man that, loves her, she gets pregnant. I mean, after all, I guess it just does only take one time to get to get pregnant. But then all of society shames her. Maybe the guy didn't want anything to do with it, or, there's always something. My question is, when and how after the 6th century of sexual openness and exploration did we start condemning sex as a society? Why are we so weird about it, pretending it should not be a thing, or maybe not pretending, but trying to enforce that it should not be a thing, or trying to deny that it even is a thing that gets explored or even cared about, or curiosity even around it? In psychology, now I'm not saying I took a lot of psychology courses, but even in the most basic of psychology classes, like in high school, it is taught that there are oral fixations and sexual curiosities in children as they discover their bodies and what it can do. I am not a parent, but I'm pretty sure that is also something that gets discussed with parents when there is an oral fixation. Obviously, when there's puberty, when a child hits puberty, there's more to deal with because there's hormones and continued curiosity about like what is happening to the body. There's more to just deal with and honestly talk about. So why do we put so much shame on children for that curiosity, right? Because that shame that we develop as adults comes from somewhere. We are taught shame. Why not let children feel safe in that curiosity, right? Why bark at them saying, "Don't do that. That's not right." That's where I question all of this and don't I just it makes me feel bad for those children that do end up getting shamed and get barked at and they don't understand why, right? They don't understand why. They're just children trying to figure it out. And the person who is supposed to be their safe person to talk to, their parents, are not necessarily explaining things to them or allowing the space to ask those questions without feeling judgment or shame. I'm not saying that's a sweeping argument for everyone. Maybe you're listening to this, you're a parent and you didn't do that or you don't think you did that, but I'm just speaking from what I've seen and experienced and know from my circle of people. So I don't know about everyone else, but I first learned about sex in maybe second or third grade. I honestly can't remember the exact timeline, but the information I was given was incorrect, which I only understood later for it to be completely incorrect. In about fourth or fifth grade, when one of my non-Indian friends' parents had the porn channels in their bedroom, my friend had figured out the password to access those channels and showed us. Whoa, that is sex? That is not what I thought it was. And then that's definitely where curiosity and probably, I mean, I don't want to call it obsession, but it like peaked for me there. I'm like, whoa, that's what it is. And this is the thing that everyone's like, don't, you're not supposed to think about it and you're not supposed to pursue it until, I mean, I just remember a woman like enjoying herself. Anyway, the internet was also a big component, right? I'm a millennial. I grew up with the internet and I did get caught multiple times looking it up. And I always denied it, even with an IT dad. But the point is, I always felt so much shame about it. I would pray. I would literally pray to God, to beg God to not let me think about these things, not let me look it up, not let me explore myself in ways that felt good, promising, praying like I just want to get good grades in school and I don't want to be a troublemaker like this. And please, like I promise I'll never do it. Just please keep it away from my brain, keep it away from my desires, keep those desires away. All that I tried so hard. I would try, I would beg God, please don't let me be like this. But it was somehow never enough. Curiosity always got the better of me. But then also, like many others in school, I was severely judgmental. The quote, sluts in school who were rumored to do an experiment with like sexual things with boys. And it's not that I wanted to be like them. I did whatever I did in private and flaunting it was so shameful. And, like, oh, I can't believe like so and so did whatever with this person. Ew, what a slut. Like, I don't know. I'm not like, I'm not saying I was right to judge. I definitely wouldn't judge the same way now. But when you're that age and, that's kind of what everyone convinces you to think. I think it's like that herd mentality in some way. But yeah, I was definitely one of those girls who severely judged anyone who had any sort of sexual exploration as a teenager and like came to be knowledge around other students. But fast forwarding to college, I started to realize men were attracted to me. Yes, I know this sounds dumb or sad, but I had a lot of self-esteem issues and I never thought that anybody was ever checking me out or deeming me attractive in any form or fashion. I remember the first time hearing a guy being like, yeah, I check out your butt every time you walk by. And I was like, what? Ew, what? Me? What? What do you mean? That's so like random. Guys being like, ooh, I want to suck on your neck. And I was like, oh, why? Like getting really weird about it because I wasn't used to it. And I also, again, like I said, I had a lot of self-esteem issues, which is like a topic for another day on why I didn't think I was, quote, worthy or anything like that. But with that and the realization of attraction, especially of the sexual nature, right? It took a few years of discovery to get comfortable with the thought of sex. My first kiss was at 19, and it ended up being a full-blown makeout, and I'd only ever practiced on, like, a bathroom wall or my arm. So I was pleasantly surprised that it seemed like I knew what I was doing, and the guy was enjoying it too, so that was pretty cool. I was like, "Cool, good for me." All that practice is coming in. And I share these things with the whole thought process of, like, I wasn't the only one who was practicing on my arm or a bathroom wall. Okay. So don't let me feel that shame about that. I know some of you are thinking the same exact thing or did the same exact thing. But a few more years of that and figuring out how to give and cover up hickeys, all the rubbing up and squeezing of makeouts also had to be learned. I tried other things out as well, clumsily, but it did the job. One day I was just ready, I was just ready, and I still remember catching the guy off guard a little. He was someone I knew very well, and I trusted him, and we had been hooking up for a while otherwise. And yeah, I just really trusted him. I was ready. I was prepared. I had condoms. Like, I was like, yeah, I want to do this. And so we did. One of the things I had to battle while figuring out pleasure was how to deal with God, though. I talked about how I begged God not to let me be like this, to want these things, to explore these things, questioning, why did God make me like this? Am I a bad person for wanting these things, for enjoying it? I don't feel like a bad person, but I was taught to not want these things. I shouldn't want these things. These are not things to pursue. But yet I want it, but I don't feel bad. Like, I don't feel like I'm a bad person who does bad things. I think I'm a good friend. I have goals. I'm a decent student. So why all the shame? Where is it coming from? And then through all that exploration to get me to the point of acceptance, I just stopped asking God why and started to accept it. God made me this way. There's no hiding my thoughts or feelings or actions from God, right? If God is everywhere and God can be he or she for you because, there's goddesses as well. But if God made me this way, God is the creator, then who am I to question why I am made this way? God knows what they're doing, right? With all of that, with that acceptance of, like, I was made this way and it doesn't matter how much I try to avoid it, the creator knows, and there is no hiding, and there must be a reason that I was created this way. And so I was able to release that shame around liking sex, being comfortable with desire. As long as I was responsible, um, and otherwise a good person, the same person, honestly, sex would not make me bad. I am not a bad person for liking it or wanting it or enjoying it. And that was really freeing to have that, to go through that process and come out the other side just being like, or I can just accept myself, and as long as I know that I am not hurting anyone and that I am a good person, what I am enjoying is maybe kind of just my business. It doesn't have to be anybody else's business. And with that, I was able to finally speak openly about it with my friends. What happened with those feelings that I was exploring and what I was trying, it allowed me to feel less alone, knowing that, the other brown girls that I was friends with were also sort of discovering and experimenting and trying to navigate the same shame around enjoying pleasure. And it became a support system where we could at least talk to each other without feeling the shame. Like, hey, I experienced this. Are you experiencing this when this happens? Yes, no, why or why not? Does it hurt or not hurt? Like, what? Like, it was another level of freedom. It was another level of freeing to be able to talk to friends about it, to be able to talk to other people about it and understand where the shame was coming from, but also be able to release that shame and being like, oh, okay, cool. It's not just me. Right? It's not just me, it's other people that are also going through this, and therefore the positive side effect of talking about it was that community. Right person for you could be literally anywhere. Yes, there are dating apps, but have you considered virtual speed dating? Single to Shadi hosts a variety of speed dating events with groups so specific you have no excuse not to try it. political affiliations, food preferences, even career fields. Single to Shadi hosts a bunch of these. Some upcoming ones are North Indians, South Indians, and US citizens focused. Give it a try. You never know where and how a lasting connection will happen. 15-year-old me knew the kinds of sexual escapades that I would eventually get into in life. She would definitely, like, 15-year-old me would definitely call, like, I guess the me of today a slut, like in the negative way, right? And the me of today would probably be like, lols, I would definitely laugh and be like, maybe, but I'm a responsible slut. And, that's just the harsh judgment of, I guess, being a teenager or just also not understanding or respecting that exploration or that discovery or what that means, which is only something that I think happens with time and age. And that's that wisdom, right? Definitely hold way less shame about sex now. Like, I like sex. It's pleasure that we are supposed to experiment as the human race. It's explicitly written in Hinduism that it's a goal of life to experience such pleasure. So it it does make me feel a little sad for those who are unable to experience that pleasure or just don't pursue it for the fear of it, right? That I would like to hope that this conversation or this discussion, this topic that I'm bringing up, if you are stuck or afraid to pursue that pleasure because you're ashamed or afraid, please know it is something that you are supposed to do. It is okay. Do not let society deem it so terrible. But obviously, like, be responsible. I will say, present day me is different from who I was, the way explored things in my 20s. 34 now, and I don't seek it out the way that I used to, but it doesn't mean I don't, miss it or reminisce about the good times or even take care of business myself because, like, don't be weird about that either because it's something totally natural and normal, right? If anything, masturbation is safer and guaranteed more pleasurable than sex with another person. Because that other person might not be getting things right or might be too aggressive or maybe not aggressive enough if that's what you like. So let's not make it weird also that I said that, right? Again, it's a completely normal, natural thing to be like, I have these urges, and rather than go seeking someone else out, if I want to just take care of things myself, like, I can. It's, again, totally natural and normal. Speaking of other people, though, there is no shame in going and seeking out another person to help you get what you need. It, because again, it was me at some point. And so, okay, let's talk about that. So anyone who does enjoy sex doesn't want it to be bad, right? Like, the point is to feel pleasure. So my thing about it is, like, why go through all the motions of everything to not get pleasure or enjoyment out of it for yourself? Right? Obviously, there's a level of, like, I want to make sure my partner feels good as well. But, like, again, why go through all of that if you are not going to also feel pleasure in the whole thing? Everyone should be enjoying it. And that level of enjoyment can mean different things to different people. Let's not kink shame, don't yuck anybody's yum. What might get me to feel good might not be the same thing as you or your friend or your partner, but my point is, say it. Right? Show what you're enjoying. Say something about what you're enjoying. Just use your words. If you don't like something, say it. If you do like how things are going, say that. Make sure that they know, because you want you want to guarantee that everyone's getting pleasure out of the whole. I don't want to call it a transaction because that doesn't feel right. But, like, the whole meeting, right? Everyone wants to be happy in the end. And the only way to reach that is to make sure that the other people or person or whomever knows what you like, what you don't like. And I encourage you to be unafraid to ask those questions as well. You don't want to be, like, sweaty and regret everything at the end of it just to be like, ugh, I didn't get what I needed out of this. And now it's even more frustrating for me or something like that. So figure out what you like, which can be accomplished solo and with a person, and be vocal about it. Ask your partner what they like, tell them what you like, and I guarantee you that that whole conversation is not as awkward as you think it's going to be. I think much like sex itself, the build up or tension to get to the moment might be the most awkward part of it, but once you get going, like, I feel like that awkwardness just goes away because you're just like, okay, no, now we're here and we're doing it, and we're in the process of it. Right. So the build up to having that conversation, you're probably in your head like, oh my God, how do I ask? When do I ask? What do I ask? Like, is it gonna be weird if I mention I like this? Or is he gonna be so upset that I say, like, actually, you know what, I don't like this thing? Is he gonna be like, oh well, then I don't want to do this? Like, that's mostly in your head. That's your anxiety. If you just start saying things, being like, hey, can we talk about this? I like X, Y, and Z, and my hard boundaries are X, A, B, and C. What are your thoughts, feelings? Share with me what you like. Once you start having that conversation, I guarantee once you rip that band-aid off and start talking about it, I guarantee you it's not as awkward as you think. Same way of like if you're trying to, hook up with someone in the beginning, it's a little like, okay, when do I make my move? How? But someone's just got to do it. And then once you do, you can get to the good stuff. So, fam, if you're feeling conflicted, ashamed, or lack confidence around sex, I hope this helped. I'm an Indian woman who navigated the weirdest of thoughts and feelings as fed by South Asian society and questions by non-South Asians like, well, didn't your people write the Kama Sutra? What do you mean you're still a virgin, or like you don't explore this position or that? Like, I'm now talking about it because I've navigated some stuff. And I've gotten to the place where I had shame and now I don't have that shame. And I'm put it all out here on a podcast for you. I've heard and seen a lot of women get so weird to talk about sex. And I just think that the more it's talked about within our community in a safe, respectful, open manner, we can be less weird about it. You know, I want you to know that there's power in that community to discuss these things. Maybe you'll be the first in your friend group to bring it up like I was. And it breaks the ice to show that you can be the safe space for others to talk about it as well. Maybe some of you who are parents or maybe about to become parents are looking to break the cycle of shame with your children. And maybe this is a thought process that is now in your headspace to be like, yeah, when that happens, how do I navigate that conversation? What is a way that I want to make sure that my child feels safe enough to tell me what they're thinking or feeling without me shaming them? Obviously, it's not my place to tell you what or how to do that. It's just me just saying, hey, think about how it was talked to you as a child, and do you want to do the same thing to your child? Is just kind of the question just thrown out there. Those of you navigating your own sexual curiosities, I hope you're being responsible and safe and using your words to communicate your pleasure, telling a partner what you like, what your hard boundaries are, and hearing them out. Like I said, no kink shaming. You can simply just not be into something, and it's not the end of the world, right? As long as you communicate clearly and you're with a partner whom you trust and they respect you as well with your boundaries. Remember that it is a goal of life to experience pleasure along with doing what is right and being a good person, right? That artha and dharma and kama. Sex doesn't change the quality of your humanity. I am the same person I was before you learned all of this about me. Now you just know this other component of me, and I'm not ashamed. And if my mom is still listening all the way to till the end here, despite my warning in the beginning, I am so proud of you, Ma. Don't make it weird, okay? I'm still the same exact person. I hope you found something inspiring or helpful or relevant to your journey from today's episode. Until next time, fam, I hope you find all the pleasures in life. You deserve it.